Hello Team FD and welcome back to Transfer Winners and Losers, the show where we put silly season underneath the microscope. Now, it's the final episode of Transfer Winners and Losers before we revert to normal winners and losers because, of course, the Premier League is back next weekend. So we went ahead and picked our favourite transfers of the week. Sorry, didn't ask you on Twitter this week. That will be resumed next week. Joining me today, it's Dougie Critchley with his curtains drawn. How are you, sir?
Yeah, good. I've had to change the setup of my room to get better Wi-Fi, so it looks a bit miserable on a Monday morning, but I didn't want the light flooding in. But no, I'm good, thank you. Had a nice weekend. It's my final weekend in quarantine, so I'm nearly free. How was yours, Chris?
Yeah, it was fantastic. Went home, had a lot of red wine. I've actually been talking about me drinking quite a lot on shows recently. I assure everyone at home I do not have a problem yet.
It's the off-season.
Do you know who does have a problem, Dougie? Barcelona. And that is what we call the first successful segue of the show, because a club legend is on the precipice of leaving for perhaps nothing, mate.
Yeah, no, it's pretty worrying. Goal were reporting yesterday that Luis Suarez has agreed a 3-year contract at Juventus with an annual salary of just under £9 million. Now, it's not as lucrative as his current deal, which is €15 million per year, but it is still only bested in the Juve squad by Cristiano Ronaldo, who is earning what, €31 million. That is absolutely mental. Now, all that's left is for Barcelona and Suarez to thrash out a compensation package. And despite being told by Koeman that he doesn't feature in his new vision for the club, the Uruguayan still has a year left on his deal, which he signed in 2016. Matters have been further complicated by a clause in the contract which specifies that if he played in 60% of Barcelona's matches in the upcoming season, it would have triggered a 1-year extension. So there's plenty to be thrashed out on this one. As a result, Suarez wants to leave with at least 1 year's wages, at least according to Guillem Balaguer. So if this proves the sticking point, Barca may insist on a nominal fee from Juventus. Now, if Juventus can offload Gonzalo Higuain, who Pirlo has publicly stated as surplus to requirements, he's on €7.5 million per year. This shouldn't be too hard to facilitate. But Chris, what are you making of this deal? And I mean, it's quite an emotional one for Barcelona and Barcelona fans. Yeah,
like you said, a lot of baggage to work through before this gets anywhere near done. Now, as Fabrizio Romano, the transfer assassin, commented on Twitter, he is furious with Barcelona and has told those around him that he feels he's literally been kicked out of the door by a club he's given everything to. This is why he doesn't want to leave even a cent of his salary behind. So he's leaving on an extremely sour note, isn't he? And this follows on from the statement that he made on Instagram that was slightly more cryptic. I mean, not too hard to decipher. But he did say, there are people around me talking about me or in my name when for years I've had no relationship with them. When I have to talk, I talk for myself. Now, this would indicate that his relationship with the board is now irreparable. And it's just, first and foremost, a really sad way for a club legend to depart, isn't it? Now, it also brings one of the most formidable attacking partnerships of all time to a close on a really poor note. He leaves having scored a combined 512 goals with Messi, lifting 13 trophies in the process for the Blaugrana with his best mate. And as such, you know, his departure means that his imminent departure means that one of the most boring transfer sagas of the summer rages on. Yes, that's Barcelona apparently back in with a final bid for Lautaro Martinez. Not quite sure where they're pulling this money from, given they've spent over, well, I think nearly £1 billion actually in the last 5 years. But I digress. The move, which appeared dead in the water, may have been reignited following the Nerazzurri's inexplicable pursuit of Arturo Vidal. Conte just really wants him, doesn't he? And he hasn't been training the Chilean with Barcelona despite having a year left on his current deal. Now, the club are also said to be confident of securing Wijnaldum and Depay for a combined €55 million. Of course, two people that featured prominently in Koeman's Netherlands international side. The former has only 12 months left on his Anfield contract, and the club's American hierarchy apparently willing to let him go for £15 million rather than on a free at the end of the year, because Liverpool are a tighter ship now, aren't they? And they will cut losses on players that don't necessarily want to sign new long-term deals. Now, I think that's all well and good. 15 mil, good value for Wijnaldum. They need more legs in midfield around Busquets, don't they? Although that's technically supposed to be Frenkie de Jong. But if it frees Frenkie de Jong up to cause havoc in the final third, I'm all for it. However, several news outlets reporting that this might come at the cost of pursuing Thiago Alcantara, which has already got the backs up of several Barcelona fans who now see it as Wijnaldum or Thiago, which of course, in terms of who's the better footballer, there's one very clear answer, isn't there? Do you think it would be a promising summer, given everything that's happened, if they manage to retain Messi, and we'll cover that at the end of the show because that transfer saga's come to an end, hasn't it? Bring in Martinez, Wijnaldum and Depay, and get rid of the likes of Rakitic and Vidal. Are things starting to look up for Barcelona fans, or am I being overly optimistic?
I think you're right. I think they are looking up. I think we'd probably call that pretty much a dream summer. With, you know, they could have strengthened at right back and left back really, but that's a very, very good summer. But it won't really affect the mood in the camp. I think when you know that your best player and your talisman has been so close to leaving, he's fallen out with the club's hierarchy. They are still starting the season under a cloud with massive work to do on the pitch, but particularly off it, with, you know, rebuilding a relationship with the fan base, which have been completely screwed over the last 2-3 years, and trying to form a semblance of a new squad as well. So I think that's a very good summer. Wijnaldum, Depay, Lautaro, Messi stays, but still so much work to be done throughout the Barcelona team.
Yeah, exactly. They were looking for a little bit more continuity on the pitch because, of course, the presidential elections are coming up. They're still trying to fund the new stadium, aren't they? So Barcelona still in disarray at the moment, but should they secure those signings, at least they'd have a much improved XI out on the field with Messi now staying. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below. Let's move on to our first winner.
Before we dive into our winner, just a quick reminder to subscribe to Football Daily and hit that notification bell to never miss a winners and losers. But our winner today is Everton. Why is that, Chris?
Yeah, pretty significant move in the transfer market from the Toffees, securing Allan from Napoli on a 3-year deal for a fee believed to be around £22 million. Now, of course, the Brazilian worked under Ancelotti previously at Napoli for 2 seasons, and the Italian played a huge role in terms of securing his services, fending off competition from the likes of Atletico Madrid and Borussia Dortmund. Now, he had a bit of a down season last campaign, didn't he? But the fact that clubs of that calibre are in for him shows you what a high ceiling Allan has when he's at his best. And a key weakness for Everton last campaign was protecting that back four. Looked very vulnerable on occasion, didn't they? They finished 12th in the league and only kept 9 clean sheets, the same as relegated Watford, and their lowest for 19 years. So Allan should really help out in this regard, with the 29-year-old averaging around 3 tackles in over 200 appearances for Napoli per 90. And he was particularly impressive when Ancelotti was at the helm in his only full campaign at the Stadio San Paolo, making a whopping 6.3 tackles per game in the 2018-19 Champions League, comfortably more than any other player. And whilst his attacking numbers have never been that impressive, they have been solid from his sort of deep-lying position in midfield, averaging around 6 goal contributions per campaign during his time in Italy. Ancelotti, of course, delighted to land his man, and Allan revealed not long after signing that the Everton boss really did everything in his powers to bring him to the club, and that is perhaps what swayed him to come to Merseyside.
First of all, it's the club, you know, with a great, rich history in the Premier League. And then there's Professor Ancelotti. He's done everything possible to bring me over here. So without a doubt, it's both the size of the club and the name of the coach, which means you don't think twice about coming to Everton.
But he's not the only big arrival at Goodison Park though, with James Rodriguez and Abdoulaye Doucouré also on the verge of signing. So the 27-year-old Frenchman will have a medical before signing a 4-year contract with the Toffees in a deal worth around £25 million. And it's only a matter of time before the Colombian attacking midfielder is also announced as an Everton player after the Toffees agreed a £20 million fee with Real Madrid. So Ancelotti going big in central midfield. It doesn't, suggest great news for Andre Gomez or Gylfi Sigurdsson and Paul Bamin as well, who got injured pretty much at the first game of last year. And now he's got to compete with Allan for a spot as well. So a lot of competition for places in that midfield. James Rodriguez, though, Everton fans can get very, very excited. This is almost over the line. The 29-year-old was pictured in a Merseyside restaurant on Friday as the deal nears its completion. And the former Monaco man, you've got to say, is a huge coup for his side. He'll provide them with some much-needed creativity. The once World Cup Golden Boot winner created 2.3 chances per 90 across his time at Real Madrid, more than anyone else in the Everton squad last term. And despite often being benched, the South American contributed 85 league goals since his first season at the Bernabeu in 2014-15, which comes out at 1 every 96 minutes. What a fantastic average to have. Everton certainly mean business this summer. But Chris, do you think that these signings can take them up into contention for the top 6?
I still think it's going to be really, really tricky for them to break into that top 6, mate. We're seeing clubs like Leicester fall out of that bracket. I mean, they've not made any noteworthy signings yet. Castagna arriving, not convinced by him. But 1 or 2 additions, and the Foxes probably will be knocking on the door again. So if Everton, with these signings, which are a step in the right direction, can compete with Leicester, can compete with Wolves, I think that will be... Yeah, I think that will be what Ancelotti and the board will be aiming for. A little bit concerned about James Rodriguez's fitness record. Hasn't played over 2,000 minutes in a league campaign since he featured for Monaco. But like you said, with those goal contributions, he normally does perform when he's on the pitch. So if they can keep him fit, maybe that will make up some of that talent deficit between them and the top sides. But I anticipate anywhere between sort of 6 and 8 for them, mate. What do you guys think at home? Let us know in the comments below. Let's move on to our final loser. Our losers this week then are West Ham, and they've rattled the fan base and their club captain alike by selling a prodigious young talent that we have backed to make an impression at the club this season. But out he goes, Dougie.
Yeah, bizarre decision, because he did have a 5-year contract. We're of course talking about Grady Diangana, who has joined West Brom, who he was on loan with last season for £18 million. So the 22-year-old obviously spent last season on loan at Slaven Bilic's side, scoring 8 and creating 6 as the Baggies won promotion to the Premier League. As previously stated, this has rattled some of their players, with West Ham captain Mark Noble tweeting, "As captain of this football club, I'm gutted, angry and sad that Grady has left. A great kid with a great future." And Jack Wilshere, chimed in too, writing, "Go and do your thing in a club that respects you. Big player with a big future." In West Ham's statement on his departure, they claim that the money will be reinvested entirely back into the first team, in line with the manager's targets. But Chris, so far, that hasn't proved true whatsoever.
Yeah, you're right. I do have some doubts that they're going to pump this money straight back into the first team, because just last week, West Ham refused to meet Brentford's £20 million valuation of star asset Said Benrahma, who of course had an awesome championship campaign, just like Diangana. I mean, Benrahma got 17 goals and 9 assists as Brentford matched their finest ever league finish since being relegated from the first division in 1947. But Diangana is younger and had just as impressive a campaign, didn't he? So it does feel like a very like-for-like move, but with a player who's marginally older. So I'm a little bit baffled, but baffled by West Ham's transfer business across the board, to be perfectly honest. They've been pretty quiet, haven't they? I mean, so far, the only person to arrive on a permanent basis is Soucek, who was on loan at the club last campaign, wasn't he? So West Ham fans very familiar with him already. 3 goals, which is pretty impressive in 1,000 minutes. Almost averaged 4 tackles and interceptions. So made an impression at the back, but that is, of course, somewhere West Ham still want to strengthen, isn't it? Failed bid for Tarkowski, a failed bid for Shane Duffy. And with just 5 days to go until their first Premier League fixture, it looks like they're going to have no new blood through at the London Stadium, and it's pretty much business as is. West Ham fans, are you disappointed with your off-season? I think I know the answer, but still, let me know in the comments below. Now, just to round off the show, we're going to touch upon Lionel Messi, because the saga has come to an end, hasn't it, Dougie? Let's keep this short and sweet because we've covered it pretty extensively. But the final nail in the coffin in terms of him moving away from the Camp Nou.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun while it lasted, and we dared to dream. But Messi is not going anywhere, meaning he'll remain unhappy at Barcelona, as he's stated over the last few days, for the next season. Everyone knows why he wanted to leave. He was unhappy with the club's progress on the pitch, their recent Champions League exits. He was seemingly at war with the president, Josep Bartomeu, who's made some baffling decisions in the last 18 months. He did have that clause in his contract which allowed him to leave for free, but he had to activate it by the 10th of June. Now, back on the 10th of June, Barcelona were preparing for La Liga's restart, and they had a game against Mallorca in just 3 days. Some have said if he was that determined to leave and if he was that unhappy, why didn't he trigger it anyway? But, you know, imagine the sort of chaos that would have caused to the end of Barcelona's season. And although it ended in disaster, I think it would have gone even worse if Messi had done so. Now, he's saying that the only way he could have left, the club are saying the only way he could have left, and La Liga are backing this up, is if a club paid that €700 million release clause. And he said that he didn't want to take the club that he loves so much to court. So the move is dead in the water. We can stop talking about Messi so much for another year. So sadly, it's come to an end. I mean, it's probably not the most surprising sort of ending to the saga, in that it always seemed like it was going to be an incredibly complicated deal. But now Man City and PSG can turn their attention to other targets.
Yeah, and as we've seen, there's still plenty going on at Barcelona in terms of incomings and outgoings, and we'll be keeping a close eye on that as the week progresses. But that's it for winners and losers this week, guys. Please like and subscribe if you're not a member of the FD community already. Dougie, what's happening today on EuroFootball Daily?
Today on EuroFootball Daily, we are dropping a scout report. I think it would have already gone out about the worst business of the year so far. Our best business did very well a couple of years ago, so we've done a sort of remix of that. And go check out the Football Pyramid from Saturday between Chris and Henry as well. Very entertaining episode.
Yeah, an iconic episode, and I think you meant a couple of weeks ago, not a couple of years ago, although we know that did that time a couple of years ago. Got to recycle, guys, with the greenest football channel on YouTube. Anyway, see you next week. Bye.
Bye.